Hello, you guys. It's Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we are going to talk about the Sun through Cancer cycle for 2018, including the Mars retrograde in Aquarius and backing into Capricorn. Here are the start times for each section. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's jump in. If you're new to my channel, you don't know how this works, but if you're a regular, you know it's always 5 charts. At the beginning, we walk you through where the cycle starts, how things move around, and show you where they end up, and I point out any significant changes. So, without further ado, happy summer solstice. Chart number 1, June 21st. The Sun moves into Cancer. And there, of course, you see the water trine that we've been talking about with Jupiter and Neptune. And of course, Mercury there still in Cancer. So all this watery, summery feeling. And in this chart, you see Venus in Leo holding that fixed fire energy of summer. And we're going to have Mercury move into Leo, where it will, in fact, go into its next retrograde. The retrograde won't start during this cycle, but it will, Mercury will hit the shadow point. So I'll point that out as we get to it. Next thing for you guys to know about all these charts is your water signs are going to be in the aqua color, earth in green, fire signs in orange, and I did your air signs in purple. Going to be important. So let's move on to chart number 2, and I'll show you why. All right, chart number 2, June 26th, Mars turns retrograde. This is a really big deal, and I'm going to talk about it in the second half of the video, so I won't go too into it right now, but I do want to point out that date, significant time, and I do want you to notice Mars opposing things in Leo, the opposite sign, of course, and then, of course, our squares with Jupiter in Scorpio and Uranus in Taurus. So fixed signs, pay attention to this one. Chart number 3, full moon and Mercury getting ready to change signs. So this one's interesting. You're going to feel a lot of energy from Pluto that you may not be able to detect as clearly as you might like to, but it's definitely going to be a factor during this cycle. So we have this big full moon, which is of course the moon opposite the sun in Capricorn, where Pluto and Saturn are. And then of course when we get to the new moon, let's jump to that chart, you're going to see the moon opposite of Pluto. So either way, Pluto is a big factor this time. I think it's just stronger this year with the presence of Saturn, because we have not had Saturn opposing a Cancer sun yet. So yay, something new, right? And chart number 5, I'm moving quickly, but I'll point out the other things in a second, but I want to walk you through the charts. So I always finish with the sun going into the next sign. So that is the 22nd of July when the sun goes into Leo. As you can see here, Mercury is moving up in degree in Leo, pretty far along, but it is going to go into the retrograde starting shortly after the sun changes signs. But like I was pointing out from the beginning, we have a consistent Leo fiery presence in here, in addition to the water energy. So the other things, let me just show you a few quick postcards for you guys who just like to take notes and move on before I do the Mars explanation. So one, here are the changes. And so again, we only have Mercury changing signs and Venus changing signs. She moves into Virgo. So when I was telling you guys a few months ago, we're going to have a lot of watery energy and a lot of earth energy. This brings all 3 of the earth signs into play, because Venus moving into Virgo sort of completes that trifecta. And it's a calmer energy. We'll talk about that a little more probably next month, but I did want you to notice that sign change. Here's a postcard for the moons if you guys want to get your degrees, and that second one again for that new moon at 20 degrees and 41 minutes of Cancer at that time, Pluto will be at 20 degrees and 0 minutes. So that's what I was saying, like just full on Pluto in the house this time. The other retrograde action for you to look out for. So we have Mars going retrograde, of course. We have Mercury hitting the retrograde zone. And lastly, we have Jupiter coming out of retrograde. Remember, we've talked about this one for a while. So now it's going to finish up its transit of Scorpio. And boy, has this been a huge one. And it, of course, plays into all the fixed energy that I've been talking about. So let me focus on that in this last part, because you're going to see that the Mars in Aquarius retrograde is related to all the pressure and all the energy we have going on with the fixed signs. You guys, so this is the big one. This one, a lot of astrologers pointed out at the very beginning of the year, because we only have a Mars retrograde every couple of years. And when they come, whip out your chart, see where it's hitting it, of course. But I will give you some general rules of thumb. So the first thing that we notice, as I was alluding to, okay, Mars is in Aquarius, so it is opposite of everything that goes through Leo. So we just had Venus there, we have Mercury there for the retrograde, ouch, and we have the North Node there, and of course the Sun will transit Leo next. So that is a lot for Mars to be opposing. And then we have that general square to Uranus in Taurus, and that is sitting opposite of Jupiter in Scorpio. So for those of you who don't know, our fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And looky here, everything is in play. And when we talk about the squares and oppositions, you guys know that I'm a firm believer that they bring change points into being, like where you sort of have to go one way or another. If you look at that square, one thing's like this, the other one's like that, and so something's got to give. And so I know a lot of fixed sign people being asked to make hard changes and choices, and so I would just say use the visionary quality of Aquarius, the big picture look at where those changes fit into your overall life intention. Also to be considerate of others. Aquarius takes everything into account. It is very humanitarian, but it's also, if you've ever known an Aquarius, they will always take like the opposite argument. They will always be the devil's advocate. And a lot of it is because they care about the underdog or the underserved, or so in your analysis, and if you are a fixed sign and these things are hitting you, it's important to take everything into consideration, particularly when it involves other people, these decisions, and then come to your conclusion. And we're going to have a long Mars retrograde here, all the dates, including the shadow period. So you'll have a lot of time to sort of sort this out, but it is very interesting to see what comes up. And part two of part two is that it's not all for the fixed signs. You late degree cardinals are going to get some of this. When you look at this, you can see that Mars is going retrograde back into Capricorn. Holy cow. So Mars, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn. This is so much law and order. This is so much about the rules. And I would say the people, and it's just kind of funny because Mars starts this in Aquarius, which is, of course, the rule breaker. This is going to be an interesting time. But I would say if you have planets in late degrees of cardinal signs, pay attention for the period here when Mars retrogrades back into Capricorn in August, because you'll probably be dealing with your own challenges or issues coming up that you need to rethink or redo, because that will also be happening at the same time as the retrograde. We're in for a long Mercury retrograde, not to confuse the two, but the Mercury retrograde will be July 26th through August 19th. So for a while, we are going to have both of these in addition to, check this chart out here, in addition to Pluto and Saturn being retrograde. So it's quite a lot, again, in that Saturn, law and order, governments, institution, banking, all those things. So just make sure all those parts in your chart or in your life are in order. This is a good time to put them in order if they're out of sync. A retrograde, I always look at it as running with weights on, and if you can learn to do that when you come out of it, you'll be a lot better off and you'll be in a lot better shape. But again, I think just pull up your chart, see where this affects you, and just kind of go from there, okay? And then let's just move on to the resources. You guys, I'm Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you very much especially for watching through the end. If you want to get a hold of me for an astrological or psychic reading consultation, you can reach me at Elizabeth's Oracle. If you just want a monthly update on where the planets are, you can subscribe to my newsletter. All your information is always confidential and it's always respected. And of course, you can subscribe to this channel because I post a video every time the sun changes signs, a few days before that each month. And Kristy and I are still working on whatever we're going to do, but it's probably the end of summer. We really want to enjoy the summer, and with all this laid back energy, we're just, kind of enjoying taking a little bit of a break from doing radio, but we're still in touch all the time. And if you feel drawn to work with the angels, absolutely visit my friend Kristy M. Ayala at her website. All the links for everything are always in the description box. And last little plug is Free Minute Friday. Yay! You guys are calling in so much. Thank you so much. If you want to order on a Friday, you will get 5 free minutes with any order you place on a Friday, but you can have your reading, I should say, any day of the week. So just place the order on Friday and get 5 free minutes. Again, happy summer solstice. I feel like we're in for a good but gentle summer, so enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you when the sun goes into Leo.